They laughed. They doubted. They turned their backs, as if you were invisible. But that was their mistake, because while they were busy underestimating you, you were building. In silence, in the shadows, every rejection, every slight, every whispered insult. They fueled something inside you, something they won't see coming. People think strength is loud. That power is about showing off, about forcing the world to notice you. But real power, it's silent. It's the kind that doesn't ask for attention. It demands it. Without a single word, they think they know who you are. They think they've figured you out. But they've only seen the version of you that let them. Now it's time to introduce them to the real you, the one they never saw coming. This is your moment, your time. And when they finally see what you've become, when they realize the power you've been building while they were laughing, it'll be too late. Because you don't need their validation. You never did. But they will remember you, whether they want to or not. You know what the best revenge is? Silence. Not anger, not confrontation, just silence. Because silence means you don't need to prove anything to anyone. It means you've detached from their expectations, from their opinions, from the tiny little box they tried to keep you in. That's what they wanted, isn't it? For you to stay predictable, to remain small, to be the version of you that never threatened them. But that version is gone now. Every time they ignored you, every time they dismissed you, they were sharpening you without even realizing it. You took the criticism, the rejection, the lack of belief, and you turned it into something else. You turned it into focus, into discipline, into an obsession with becoming something greater. That's the part they never understood. While they wasted their time tearing others down, you were busy building yourself up. And now, you've reached a point where you don't even care if they notice. That's real power. They thought they had you figured out. They thought they knew your limits, your weaknesses, the boundaries of what you were capable of. But they never considered the possibility that you could change, that you could evolve. They were too busy believing their own assumptions to see what was happening right in front of them. And now they won't recognize you, the old you. That person doesn't exist anymore. You've killed every weakness, burned every excuse, and buried every doubt. You are something else now. You are the version of yourself that refuses to ask for permission. You don't need anyone's approval. You don't need anyone to believe in you. The only validation that matters is the kind that comes from action. And that's the thing. They won't understand until it's too late. Until you're already standing in the place they said you'd never reach. Until they're forced to watch you thrive in silence with no need to rub it in their faces. Because by then, you'll be so far ahead that their opinions won't even matter. You're not coming back for revenge. You're not here to prove them wrong. You're here to prove yourself right. And that is what will haunt them the most. People always expect you to stay the same. They expect you to be predictable, to remain in the role they assigned to you. It makes them comfortable. Because if you grow, if you change, then they have to question everything they assumed about you. And most people would rather hold on to their illusions than face the truth. But here's the thing. You were never meant to stay in the same place. You were never meant to be trapped by their opinions, their labels, their small-minded expectations. You were always capable of more. They just didn't want to see it. And honestly, that was the best thing that could have happened to you. Because their doubt became your motivation. Their underestimation became your greatest weapon. While they were busy assuming you'd never rise, you were putting in the work. In silence. without asking for permission. At first it was frustrating, wasn't it? Being ignored, being overlooked, watching others get opportunities you knew you were just as capable of handling, if not more. But then something shifted. You realized that being underestimated was actually an advantage. Because when no one expects anything from you, they don't see you coming. They don't prepare for the storm that's building in the background. And by the time they realize what's happening, it's already too late. That's where you are now. The version of you they dismissed is gone. You've spent too many nights pushing yourself, too many hours sharpening your skills, too many moments refusing to give up when it would have been easier to quit. And now you are undeniable. Now you have something that can't be ignored. They won't understand it at first. They'll act surprised. They'll pretend like they never doubted you, like they always knew you had it in you. But you'll remember. You'll remember every time they looked past you, every time they made you feel invisible. And the best part? You won't even need to say a word about it. Your success will say everything for you. Because the truth is, you were never weak. You were never incapable. You were never less than. You were simply waiting for your moment. And now, that moment is here. This is your time, your stage, your rise, and nothing can stop you now. You can feel it, can't you? That shift, that quiet, unstoppable force inside you. It's been building for a long time, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment. And now it's ready to be unleashed. The version of you that tolerated disrespect, that waited for permission, that hesitated when it was time to act. That version is dead. You buried them beneath every late night, every sacrifice, every painful moment when you kept going, even when no one was watching. That's the part they'll never understand. They think people just wake up one day and become great. They don't see the years of work, the nights when you questioned yourself, the moments when quitting would have been the easy choice. But you never took the easy choice, did you? That's why you're different. That's why you're dangerous. Because while they were comfortable, you were uncomfortable on purpose. You chose the hard path. You chose the work. You chose to become something greater while they stayed the same. And now, they won't know how to handle it. There's something powerful about knowing you don't need validation anymore. That you don't need their approval, their recognition, their applause. You've already won the battle in your mind. You've already proven to yourself that you are capable. That's the hardest part, getting yourself to believe it. And now that you do, now that you see yourself for what you really are, nothing they say can touch you. They will try, of course. They will downplay your progress, act like it doesn't matter, try to find reasons why you don't deserve what you've built. But deep down, they know the truth. They know they were wrong about you. They just won't admit it. And that's fine, because their opinion is irrelevant now. The version of you that needed their validation doesn't exist anymore. What exists now is something unbreakable. Someone who doesn't seek revenge, but results. Someone who doesn't beg for respect, but commands it. You don't need to tell them who you are. You don't need to explain yourself. They'll see it soon enough. And when they do, it will change everything. At first, they'll act like nothing has changed. They'll pretend like you're still the same person they ignored, the same person they overlooked. It's their way of keeping control, of holding on to the illusion that you'll always be beneath them. But deep down, they can feel it. Something is different. The energy has shifted. You no longer react the way you used to. You don't seek their approval. You don't chase their recognition, and that terrifies them. Because people don't fear strength that screams for attention. They fear the kind of strength that doesn't need to announce itself, the kind that just exists, the kind that moves in silence without asking, without waiting, without needing permission. And that's exactly what you've become. There was a time when you would have argued with them, when you would have tried to prove your worth, tried to explain why you deserved more, but not anymore. Now you understand something they never will. Real power doesn't argue. It doesn't need to. It just is. And that's what breaks them. The moment they realize they no longer have an effect on you, that their words don't shake you, their opinions don't matter, their presence doesn't intimidate you, that's when it hits them. They've lost their control over you. They will try to pull you back in subtle ways at first. They will act like they suddenly support you, like they always believed in you. They will rewrite history in their favor. But you won't forget. You remember the silence when you needed encouragement. You remember the doubt when you were struggling. You remember the dismissiveness when you were still finding your strength. And yet, you don't hold on to anger. That's the real difference now. You've outgrown it. You've outgrown the need to prove anything to anyone. You've outgrown the need for their validation. And because of that, you are free in a way they will never be. This is your moment, and you won't waste it looking back. Let them wonder, let them question, let them realize, too late, that they never really knew you at all. They say success is the best revenge. But that's not even the point anymore, is it? You're not doing this to get back at them. You're not rising just to prove them wrong. That's too small, too petty. You're doing this because you refuse to live a life dictated by their expectations. You refuse to let their doubts define your potential. And that's the difference between you and them. They've always needed an audience. They've always needed people to notice, to clap, to validate their worth. That's why they never saw you coming, because you were never in it for the approval. You were never performing for them. You were building, quietly, relentlessly, without distraction. But now they have no choice but to notice, because you've become something undeniable. And that's the thing about undeniable people. They don't need to convince anyone of anything. They don't chase recognition. They don't beg for opportunities. They don't wait for permission. They just do. And the world adjusts accordingly. Look at them now. Look at how they shift around you. The same people who once dismissed you are suddenly interested. The same people who doubted you now want to be associated with you. It's funny, isn't it? How quickly people change when they realize they miscalculated. But that's not your concern. Let them scramble to rewrite the past. Let them try to position themselves next to you now that you've built something real. It doesn't matter, because you're not here for them. You never were. You're here for you, for the person who refused to quit, for the person who kept going when it would have been easier to stop, for the person who believed, before anyone else did, that you were meant for more. That's why you're winning, because this was never about revenge. It was about evolution, and while they're busy trying to figure out how you did it, you'll already be on to the next level. No explanations, no apologies, no looking back. Just forward. Always forward. There's something different in the way you move now. A quiet confidence. A certainty that wasn't there before. And they feel it, even if they don't say it, even if they pretend not to notice. But they do. Because people can sense when something has changed. They can feel it when someone steps into their power, when someone stops asking and starts taking, when someone no longer needs permission to exist on their own terms. It makes them uncomfortable. because it forces them to question themselves. If you were able to change, to grow, to evolve, what does that say about them? That's why they will try to downplay it. They will act like your progress isn't a big deal. They will tell themselves you just got lucky, that you changed too much, that you're not the same person they used to know. And they're right. You're not. Because the old you was built for their comfort. The new you, the real you. That version was built for something greater. You don't need to explain it to them. You don't need to justify why you've changed, why you've outgrown certain things, certain people, certain places. You just keep moving, because that's what real power looks like. It's not about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. And that requires a level of discipline, of focus, of relentless forward momentum that most people will never understand. But you understand, because you've been in the dark. You've felt what it's like to be unseen, unheard, underestimated. And instead of breaking you, it built you. Every moment of doubt, every time they counted you out, every time they told you what you couldn't do, it all became fuel. And now, that fuel is pushing you forward with a force they can't stop. You don't have time to worry about their opinions anymore. You don't have time to shrink yourself to make them comfortable. You're moving too fast, rising too high, becoming too powerful, to waste even a second on people who never believed in you in the first place. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them wonder how you did it. Because by the time they figure it out, you'll be somewhere they can never reach. They will call you different. They will say you've changed, and they're right. You have. But not in the way they think. You didn't become someone else. You became who you were meant to be all along. The only difference is, now you're done pretending to be less than what you are. For too long, you made yourself small. You let their words, their expectations, their doubts shape the way you saw yourself. You held back your strength, your ambition, your hunger, just to make them comfortable. But comfort is a prison, and you were never meant to live in a cage. That's why you walked away. That's why you stopped explaining yourself. Because people who truly respect you don't need explanations. They don't need you to justify your growth. They don't get offended when you evolve. They celebrate it. And the ones who don't, they were never for you. They say success changes people. But the truth is, success doesn't change you. It reveals you. It strips away the excuses, the limitations, the fears that kept you playing small. And now that you see yourself clearly, now that you know what you're capable of, there's no going back. That's what scares them. Not just the fact that you've grown, but that you'll never shrink again. That you've tasted what it's like to live on your terms, to move without hesitation, to exist without seeking permission, and now they can't control you. That's why they'll say you're arrogant, that you've forgotten where you came from, that you're acting different. But listen closely, because what they're really saying is, you're no longer easy to manipulate. And that's not your problem. You don't need their approval. You don't need their understanding. You don't need anything from them, because you've built yourself up from nothing. You've taken every doubt, every insult, every moment of rejection, and turned it into something unstoppable. And now, the only thing left to do is keep moving, keep growing, keep rising, because the ones who truly see you, they don't need you to explain. They already understand. And the ones who don't? They were never meant to keep up with you anyway. They will try to remind you of who you used to be. They will bring up the past, the mistakes, the moments of weakness, Anything to pull you back into the version of yourself that made them feel comfortable. Because your growth is a threat. Not because you've done anything to them, but because it forces them to look at themselves. And that's the thing. They don't hate your success. They hate what your success reveals about them. That they stayed the same, that they settled, that while you were pushing forward, they were making excuses. They don't want to accept that you earned this, that you built yourself into something they can no longer reach. So instead they try to downplay it, to twist it, to act like you don't deserve it. But the truth, it burns them because deep down they know they were wrong about you. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to defend yourself. The results speak for themselves. That's the difference now. The old you would have felt the need to explain, to justify, to convince them that you were worthy. But that part of you is gone. Now you just move forward because you've realized something powerful. Those who are truly strong don't waste energy proving it. They don't chase validation. They don't need to be understood by people who were never meant to understand them. And that's why you don't even feel anger toward them anymore. You just feel distance, detachment, a quiet indifference that is far more unsettling than any outburst could ever be. Because people can handle anger. They can handle arguments. But silence, indifference, that terrifies them. Because it means they've lost their hold on you. That's what this was always about. Freedom. And now you have it. You are no longer bound by their words, their judgments, their opinions. You move for yourself now. You decide who you are. And that is something they will never be able to take from you again. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them feel the weight of their own limitations. Because you're already gone, too far ahead for them to reach. And you're never looking back. At some point, you stop caring about proving anything to them, not because you've given up, but because you've outgrown the need. Their opinions, their judgments, their expectations, they don't hold the same weight anymore. You see them for what they are: distractions, noise, empty words from people who never had the courage to do what you've done. Because that's the real difference between you and them. It was never about talent. It was never about luck. It was about mindset. While they waited for the right moment, you created it. While they made excuses, you made moves. And now, they are forced to sit with the reality they never expected. You became everything they said you couldn't be. They won't admit it, of course. They will act like they always believed in you, like they saw your potential from the beginning. But you remember. You remember the silence when you needed support. You remember the way they laughed, the way they overlooked you, the way they made you feel invisible. And now they want to be part of the story. Now they want to act like they were with you all along. But they weren't. And that's fine. You don't need them. You never did. Because the only thing that ever truly mattered was your own belief. The belief that you could do this. The belief that no matter how many times they doubted you, you would keep going. And now that you're here, now that you've become undeniable, there is no more need for explanations. You've already won, not because of money, not because of status, but because you proved to yourself that you were always capable. That the power was always in you. And now you move differently. You carry yourself differently. You no longer seek acceptance. You demand respect without saying a word. That's why they're uncomfortable. That's why they don't know how to act around you anymore. Because they can't control this version of you. The old you needed them. The new you. The new you moves with a level of certainty they can't comprehend. Let them feel it. Let them sit in their discomfort. Let them wonder how you did it. But don't stop. Keep going. Keep building. Keep becoming. Because this is just the beginning. This is where everything changes. Not because they finally see you, not because they finally acknowledge you, but because you no longer care if they do. Their validation was never the goal. It was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving yourself right. And now you have. Look around. The version of you that once doubted, once hesitated, once waited for permission, that version is gone, replaced by someone who moves with purpose, with confidence, with an unshakable belief in their own power. This isn't arrogance. This isn't ego. This is certainty, the kind that can't be faked, can't be borrowed, can't be given. It's earned, built through every late night, every sacrifice, every moment where you kept going despite having every reason to stop. And now, the world has no choice but to adjust. Because here's the truth they never wanted to accept. Strength isn't given, it's taken. Respect isn't asked for, it's commanded. And the moment you stopped waiting, the moment you decided to step fully into your power, that was the moment everything shifted. They feel it, even if they won't say it, even if they pretend otherwise. They know now. They were wrong about you. But that's not your concern. Your only focus now is what's ahead. The next move, the next level. Because this isn't the peak, this isn't the finish line. This is only the foundation of something even greater. And the best part? You're just getting started. Let them watch. Let them talk. Let them try to figure out how you did it. Because you don't need to explain. Your success says everything for you. Subscribe now, because this is just the beginning.